When you think your body can go no further, you've only gone 40%. You got 60% there. It's all in your head. And so over a period of hours, Goggins was able to get this guy, whether it was a pull-up at a time or 2 pull-ups, he eventually got to 100.
If you're like most people, if you're like me, there's a gap between the person you are and the person you're trying to be. We all have things that we do that we know we need to stop doing to be the person that we want to be. But of course, we don't magically transform ourselves. We don't become a new person overnight. Zeno, the founder of Stoicism, said that well-being is realized by small steps, but it's no small thing. It's actually a series of small choices, small decisions that cumulatively help us change, reinvent ourselves, reorient ourselves in a better direction. One of the ways that I try to get better, one of the ways that I improve each year is doing the Daily Stoic New Year, New You Challenge, which doesn't promise to magically reinvent you. It just gives you 21 days of challenges and exercises, ideas, insights from the Stoics that help you stop procrastinating, build new habits, abandon harmful vices, strengthen your character, and above all, help you become what you're capable of becoming. Not immediately, not in one swoop, but steadily, consistently over time. It's 21 days of custom challenges delivered directly to your inbox. It's over 20,000 words of content, almost a book's worth of stuff. There's weekly Zoom calls with me and other Stoics. There's a community you can connect to and people who can become your accountability partners to help you actually follow through on this stuff. Stop putting it off. Don't make excuses. Come join us. Come join the Daily Stoic New Year, New You Challenge. And you really can't put it off much longer because it starts on January 1st and you want to do it with everyone else simultaneously. Do it now before it closes, before it's too late. Sign up at dailystoic.com/challenge.
Well, hello and Happy New Year. This is Mike Howard from the Ronin Leadership Podcast. Really our first podcast for 2024. Hard to believe we're at 2024. I trust all of you have had a wonderful holiday season, Christmas and New Year's. Last month, my family and I certainly did. We got to go to North Carolina to visit the grandkids, our daughter and our son-in-law, and had some really wonderful times here in Las Vegas. And it seemed to go like a whirlwind. It was a blur, and next thing you know, here we are in 2024. First of all, I want to thank all of you for subscribing to this podcast. We keep growing. I keep looking at the stats, and we keep growing, sometimes on a daily basis. We're over 1,300 subscribers and growing. So thank you very much for subscribing to this channel, and continue to tell your friends and your family, acquaintances about this channel so that they can hopefully get some good content that helps them in their leadership journey and their personal journey. And please encourage them to hit the subscribe button, the like button. Please share these videos, and please continue to give us feedback on the videos. Now, we get analytics all the time on the videos that get a little more coverage from all of you than others, and that helps us hopefully to hone these podcasts so we can get you the content that you want. We're also lining up hopefully a really good array of guests in the next few months. We have one coming up on Monday with a very good friend of mine who is an expert in emotional intelligence and organizational development that actually helped me in my formative years as Chief Security Officer at Microsoft. So we're looking forward to that. I also had the privilege last month in December to speak to a group of private sector and public sector leaders at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia. I hadn't been to Quantico in a long time, and so it was really good to talk to them about my own leadership journey, and it was wonderful to be back in Quantico. So a lot of things have happened. A lot of good things continue to happen. But let's delve into today's podcast. It's a new year, and I know a lot of people make resolutions. A lot of the resolutions don't pan out. I mean, we always joke that, my wife and I actually joked the other day. I remember when used to go to this place called the Pro Sports Club in Bellevue, Washington. And it's near Microsoft's campus. It's a private club, but 99.9% of people go there are Microsoft, because Microsoft helps subsidize your membership. But I can remember in January, there's always a flood of new people, as probably at any gym, whether it's CrossFit, Orange Theory, F45, different clubs. And they've got their new shoes, they got their bags, they're ready to rock and roll, they're going to get in shape. You know, we used to go dark 100, right? So the club would open at 5:30, so we'd be there, obviously before that. And so you get these people coming in, and by February, at a maximum February, those people have trickled off. The only ones that are left are the ones who are really committed to fitness. And it happens every year. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, people have great intentions, but they just don't follow through. And one of the things I've been studying, as you well know, if you've been following this podcast for a while, or if you are reading my blog, Ronan Leadership Thoughts on LinkedIn, and I'll get more content out on that blog very soon too, or if you've seen any of my reels, I've been really following Stoicism for a while now. I got a good friend of mine in the industry, Chuck Randolph, who worked for me running executive protection at Microsoft. Years ago, when he was still in the military and he was deployed to Afghanistan, gave me a copy of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. For those of you who don't know who Marcus Aurelius is, he was a Roman emperor, and he was considered one of the 5, what they call benevolent emperors. They had, obviously Rome had a lot of bad leaders, emperors, like Nero and others, but he was one of the benevolent ones. And he is considered one of the top, you know, the fathers of Stoicism. A philosophy that looks at what they call logos, meaning reason, and how to apply reason to every aspect of your life. Anyway, Chuck gave me a copy of Meditations with an Inscription, and I read it, and it made an impact on me. But, you know, it's interesting. Post-retirement, I started delving into it more. Obviously, my wife and I were Christians, and so our number one reference to go to is the number one book in the world in terms of sales and people read it, is the Bible. And so, but there are a lot of parallels between the Bible and Christianity and Stoicism. So I started delving into it big time last year. And we read Meditations, and I'm reading articles and books by Seneca and Epictetus and a lot of these other Stoics that may not be as well known as Marcus Aurelius. But I think one of the main things about Stoicism is the idea of how you approach life. And meaning that you're in this life for a short period of time, and what are the things you're going to do, what are the things you are going to do that are going to enhance your life, enhance your family's life, enhance the community? Because it's not about you, it's about your relevance and what you can do for the greater good for the community. Marcus Aurelius and a lot of the Stoic philosophers believe that while they were studying philosophy from formative years, from people like Aristotle and Plato, etc., and learning and understanding their brand of philosophy, Stoicism, it was also about how once you're never perfect, right? You're always growing. It's just like leadership we talk about here in this podcast. You never end it. The journey always continues. Well, the same thing with philosophy and Stoicism. You're never going to be perfect. But you get to the point where you understand it and you're practicing it and you're living it. And now how do you make the world, the community, a better place? A big part of Stoicism is being realistic about life. Good things happen, bad things are going to happen. Fair things and unfair things. There are going to be people who love you and like you, and there are going to be people, no matter what you do, that won't like you, may try to backstab you somewhere. If you've been in business, that's happened. It's happened to me. It's happened to everybody who's been any kind of enterprise, it just happens and it's not fair, and you obviously have remedies for that. But at the end of the day, the idea of Stoicism is, what good is it to complain? Complaining won't get you anywhere. Even in catastrophic situations where you get a diagnosis, a bad diagnosis for an illness, or your house burns down unexpectedly, or some jerk crashes into your car and wrecks your new car, or whatever the situation is. That was we get this notification from Alexa. We have to remember to take out the trash because we getting older, so we may forget. But in any case, the idea is just to remember that, and it says all of this in the Bible as well, that bad things happen to both bad and good people. And so if you look at life from that framework, and you start building your mind and your spirit to be resilient. That's another big part of Stoicism, is be resilient. The analogy I've heard many times when reading the various philosophers, Stoic philosophers, is, and it makes sense because this took place. They were writing meditations, for instance, with Marcus Aurelius back in the days of ancient Rome when they had gladiator fights. And the analogy would be, you have a gladiator that's trained in combat and is trained to absorb kicks and punches and is able to administer the same. And they're in the arena, but they have steeled themselves to be able to fight the good fight. They may lose, but they're ready. They're ready for that. And the same thing is with Stoicism, right? And again, a lot of parallels to Christianity. It's your faith in Christianity steels you for whatever may happen, because it's not in your hands, it's in God's hands, right? And we often think we have control, but we actually don't. And it's the same thing, the way the Stoics looked at it. You only should think about, not to say worry, but we're all human beings, so we're all going to worry at some point, the things that you can control. The things that you can't control, what good is it to worry about it, or to wring your hands about it and think about it to the point where it's going to drive you crazy? It makes no sense. But we're all human and we've all done it. And the idea of Stoicism is to be able to steel yourself mentally and spiritually for whatever comes our way, whether it's good things or bad things, whether it's good people or difficult people, whether it's good politicians or bad politicians, whatever the situation is, whether it's peace or war, that you're ready. And being ready means understanding logos, which is reason. You have to be able to reason situations out so that you understand what the situation is and what your reaction to that situation should be. And then also you should be thinking about how to build that resiliency so that when things happen, you're ready. Mentally, you're ready. Spiritually, you're ready to tackle whatever is coming your way with calmness, right? And I know that folks like Harry Truman and a lot of leaders in history have read the Stoics and have tried to apply some of the Stoic principles to how they lead. You look at the news now. I've actually made a vow this year, as much as I love the news, but I'm pulling back on a lot of the news feeds that I get on my phone. I made a concerted effort the last week to unsubscribe from a lot of different things, so I'm not getting this constant chatter, because nowadays you can only believe if even half of what you hear in the news. So you figure out your own news sources and the rhythm of how you want to get those news sources. But the idea is, our leaders, so-called leaders that we have in government, especially in government, but also in business, could learn a lot from practicing Stoicism, being resilient, thinking about the greater good, thinking about what your actions do for for humanity, that it's not about you. And that's what we talk about in leadership all the time, right? To be selfless. It's not about me, Mike Howard, the chief security officer at Microsoft, or me, Mike Howard, running the board at the Las Vegas Police Foundation. It's about the people that we're leading. It's about them, and what can you do to make them grow better. So as I've been studying Stoicism, reading about it, I do some daily reading, just like I do Bible verses. I do daily reading in Stoicism to help reinforce a lot of those principles about dealing with life in a realistic way. One of the things that came across was this thing called a 21-day challenge. So the video you just saw speaks to that. The gentleman Ryan Holiday is the guru, if you will, of Stoicism. He first read Marcus Aurelius when he was 19 years old in college. Made this profound impact on him, and he's been growing and following it and studying about it, writing about it, numerous books, articles, videos, and he has spoken to, highest echelons of business and government, special forces. He's spoken to special forces, but because think about it, if you're a special forces operator, whether it's Navy SEALs or Delta or Marine Recon or what have you, guess what? Or I have to do this for my friend Rick Prado, Air Force Pararescue. Don't want to leave you out. Well, guess what, sports fans? You have no choice but to deal with things realistically. When you're in the midst of bullets, slinging over your head, there's no, well, I wish this wasn't happening. I wish I could be someplace else. They may wish they could be someplace else, but they got to deal with the reality of the situation. And their training teaches them to be resilient. With Navy SEALs in training at BUDS, basic underwater demolition training, when they go to school, when they go into the water, that cold water in Coronado at nighttime, and you've seen all the pictures, they're all holding onto each other and they're freezing their asses off, right? It's, 50 something degrees, maybe less, 40 something degrees. There's a method to the madness, is to build that resilience. If you can get through that, and then when the S hits the fan, you remember and you have that resilience. So as Ryan Holiday talked about, every year he does this 21-day challenge that you can sign up for. It's too late now to sign up for, but I can talk about it because I'm in the midst of it. It was unfortunate, but at the right after the holidays, we ended up having to go to California for the death of a relative, and so and that was nice to get together with families and celebrate the life of this relative. But I got behind starting up on the challenge. But in essence, what the challenge is, 21 days. Ideally it's consecutive, but it doesn't have to be consecutive. It's 21 days, 21 challenges that are going to be there to test you, to help you build new habits, to help you get rid of harmful habits, and to stop procrastinating, and to build your character, right? And so the idea of the challenge is they're not all physical. They're a blend of physical and mental and spiritual. One of the first things, it was called a warm-up challenge. And again, if you've been following me for a while, I was doing this before the challenge, but it was day one, January 1st, starting the day off with a cold plunge. I've talked about cold plunges a lot in my reels. I've been doing it for a while now. Started off with cold showers and worked my way up to cold plunges. A good friend of mine, Stu Blanchard, I think I've mentioned him before. He's former Delta Force. And when I first started talking about cold showers, he reached out to me and said he's been doing this for years and was a, quote, game changer for him. Well, that's all I needed to know, right? And yes, I've seen the videos of Joe Rogan and Mark Wahlberg and all these other people doing cold plunges. But it was really what Stu said, it was a game changer that said, okay, let me try it. And so Started doing cold plunges. Luckily here in Las Vegas, it's cold enough now that the water the water in the pool or the spa has its own. It's like a cold plunge. Eventually, I'll invest in a regular cold plunge. But that was the first challenge. And could you imagine for people who are taking this challenge who have never done a cold shower or never done a cold plunge? That was your first thing, right? And it's done on purpose because it's hard. Even today, I took a cold shower. I've been doing it. So 3 days a week, I do the cold plunge, and the rest of the time, I do a cold shower. Well, I mean, just before you get into the tub or plunge, just before you get into the shower, there's that nanosecond. I don't care how many times you've done it, where your body and your mind, you're resisting it. You don't want to do it because your body doesn't like cold. It loves the warmth. So then you physically put yourself into that situation and you get that initial, oh my gosh, you see the videos of, it just takes your breath away. And then, I can't say you get acclimated, but you're able to endure. I usually do 5 minutes. I'll do 5 minutes cold plunge, 5 minutes shower, whatever it is. 5 minutes is my sweet spot. You can do more, but I almost got hypothermia. I think I told you this once before, a couple months ago in Boston when I was in a friend's pool and I stayed there a little bit too long, right? So 45 minutes. So that's pushing it. But it was interesting why Holiday made but this was the first challenge to get you out of your comfort zone, to get you ready for the actual 21-day challenge. And then there is a discussion board where you can put down for every challenge, what you did, how you felt about it. And there's also I think tomorrow might be one of the days, there's also online Zoom calls from around the world with Ryan to answer questions, to hear from other people. Thousands of people do this every year. And so, but it's been interesting, just to let you know, the journey is ongoing because there's one, for instance, that they want you to read the 3 of the main books on Stoicism this year. Well, of course, that's going to take a bit for a lot of people. I'm rereading Meditations, and there are some other things. Blinks don't count. You have to read the entire book. So that takes a while. But they've had challenges like, for instance, one of the challenges and one of the first days was to look at your workspace and declutter. And I looked at my workspace. When I was at Microsoft, I was pretty good about keeping a minimalist appearance in my office. But as I looked at my desk, I said, well, I got a lot of junk here. I've got microphones, I got wires, I got all kinds of stuff. So I spent time getting rid of stuff, organizing things, and now I've got a desk that is truly functional, and it works for me. And we took pictures of it and shared it on the discussion board. But that was, again, a way to look at how do you organize yourselves. Holiday referred to Marie Kondo. A lot of you know who Marie Kondo is. If you don't, take a look at Netflix. She had a series a couple years ago. She is the queen of getting organized. And it's everything from your closet, your clothes. Clothes was a big thing. When Janice and I first got here, we saw, that's her series, and I read her book. We followed the principle when we looked at all of our clothes, and the idea is to dump all the clothes on the ground, similar to your desk space here where you got all this crap. Take a look at these clothes and, it really is kind of like, what brings you joy, or is this really something that you could live without? And we found out we got rid of a lot of stuff. So the same thing here with the desk. That's the whole mindset, to get organized, to think about your life, and whether it's business or retirement or whatever activity you have, and get organized. So that was one of them, right? But it was good. It was good because there's a cathartic experience when you sit back and you look and say, holy, well, look at this. The desk looks great, and that means organized desk, organized mind. That's why Admiral McRaven, right? Bill McRaven who wrote the book, First Make Your Bed, and I've talked about that before. What's the big deal about making your bed? Well, making your bed in the grand scheme of things may mean nothing, but it means everything, because you started off your day, and even if you didn't accomplish anything that day, you made your bed. It's a mindset thing. A lot of Stoicism is about a mindset. Another thing that they did was they have this maximum rep plus one more challenge. So I did that today. And this came from this gentleman who, his name escapes me right now, but he's a marathon runner. He's a successful business guy. And he wrote a book about his experience with David Goggins. And a lot of you have heard David Goggins, former Navy SEAL, went through BUD/S 3 times because of injuries. He's considered, if not the toughest, one of the toughest men around. He talk about resilience, he's resilient. And this gentleman who wrote the book wanted to push himself. And he knew about Goggins. He invited Goggins to stay actually in New York and this guy's condo with his wife, him and his wife, and Goggins. So Goggins could work with him specifically on building resilience. And I remember reading the book, and one of the first things he did was go out for a run. And it was the dead of winter, it was snowing, but Goggins, this is what he does. 4 o'clock in the morning, they go out, rain or shine, whatever. But they get back to the guy's condo, and I guess there's a gym or some kind of setup. And Goggins says, okay, we'll do pull-ups. And so the guy gets up there, and I think he does maybe like 3. And Goggins says, well, we're going to do 100. And the guy says, I can't do 100. And Goggins says, the only reason you say that is his theory, Goggins' theory, is that when you think your body can go no further, you've only gone 40%. You got 60% there. It's all in your head. And so over a period of hours, Goggins was able to get this guy, whether it was a pull-up at a time or 2 pull-ups, he eventually got to 100. And so that inspired Ryan to do this maximum rep plus 1 challenge. So it was either pull-ups, push-ups, or sit-ups. And we'd already worked out today at F45, but we came home and I just tried to do sit-ups. And so I just did as many. So the idea is to do as many reps of whatever you're going to do, wait 30 seconds, and then see if you can't do 1 more beyond that. So I did as many sit-ups as I could until because we'd already done abs earlier today at F45, and so my abs were already kind of screaming a little bit. They were really screaming here. And so I did whatever I could. I rested for 30 seconds, and I just went on with it. And I got to the one point where I had a number in mind. And I got to the point where I couldn't go any further, so I stopped for, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then kept going, just like the guy did with Goggins. And eventually I got past where I had gone before, even by 5 more. So that was an abject lesson for me, right? Even though I know these things, I read these things, to actually do it is one thing. Another challenge that I did was, and it may seem silly, but it's to find a very quiet place where you're not going to be distracted. And it's to count to 1,000. Okay? 1,000, 2, 1,000, what have you. Count to 1,000 without being distracted, to help hone your ability to focus. Easier said than done. Sounds easy, but it's not. It's not about just counting, because there's so many distractions around you. So I went out to the backyard. It was afternoon. It's actually cool outside, but that's okay. I wanted it that way because that would keep me more alert. And I laid down there and I set a timer. And you don't have to do this in any specific time frame. In the challenge, it says, you should be able to do it in 15 minutes. I did it in like 22 minutes and 43 seconds. But as you're counting, I'm visualizing the numbers. 1, 2, 3 in my head. I'm spelling them mentally. But you've got, not many, but you had cars, passing by on the roadway next door. And then your mind can wander. Your mind may start to wander, and you got to pull it back. And a couple times my mind started to wander, and I just pulled it back to the numbers and just concentrated. My dog came out one time, wanted to play, and was barking at me, and I had to just put that out of my head for a few minutes. But it was really interesting. It was harder than I thought it was going to be. But it was a really good lesson in focusing and concentration, and how you can, the Stoic philosophy about that is that people feel that if I want to get away from it all, I need to go to a spa or to a resort or do something like that, when realistically, right here in between your ears is a place that you can actually go to get away, to refresh and rejuvenate and to focus. But you have to train yourself for it. And it was really interesting. But then they have other challenges, like one is to find, one of it was to find someone that, whether they've aggrieved you or you've aggrieved them, but someone that you have a disconnect with, whether it's long term or short term, and to get over it, to put it behind you, because life is too short. And again, you shouldn't you shouldn't contribute to those kinds of things, number one. And number two, what good does it do? It's not going to prolong your life or the other person's life. It's just going to make it worse. This is something you can control. And if it's the right thing to do, then what difference does it make? And even if you are the aggrieved party, it doesn't matter. You can either reach out and make amends, or you can treat them in a different way than you have been. Whatever it is, it's both external. You can do it externally or internally. But these are the kind of challenges that's taking place. Others are, you take some habits from last year that you like and that you're going to continue, and you write them down, and then you take habits or something that you don't like, right? Whether you sleep in too much, or you're not exercising, or something like that, and you burn them. Now, it's a metaphorical burn, right? You could write it in your on your phone, in a notes app, and then delete it. But again, it's a psychological thing of taking a look at building good habits, getting rid of bad habits. So I'm having a great time with this. It comes in your email every day, the next challenge. And one of them, for instance, was or is to try to do something good for the environment. Whether it is walking around your neighborhood and picking up trash, using or buying a water bottle or something, so that you're not having to use plastic all the time. Whatever it is, do something that day that's good for the environment. And so all these types of things, as you see, they're not just physical, they're not just mental, they're not just spiritual, they're a little bit of everything. But the idea is to push you physically and mentally and spiritually and emotionally to a point where you get resilient. You become more resilient. The whole idea of cold showers and cold plunges is not just, because I can endure, whatever. It's to build resilience. Because when you are in the midst of that cold, you're not liking it. Part of you is not liking it. Part of you is loving it, because you know that you're building up that resistance, that resilience, so that when a tough thing happens that day, you can always refer back to that and say, well, this is tough, but it's no tougher than getting in 32-degree water, for 5 minutes, or what have you. So it may not be for everybody. I would encourage you, however, that there are a lot of references, and we'll put them on the website here, Stoic references in terms of some of the books that you can read. Some Ryan Holiday's website, stoicism.com. There's a lot of things. There's a daily Stoic book that gives you, just like with our Bible verses where we read throughout every day and kind of see, get some of that in you too, to help grow your spiritual faith, your walk with God. You have this daily Stoic, which has some advice or some teaching point from one of the Stoics that you can absorb. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's a good way to learn to approach life realistically, and to build that character, to build that resilience. And I think, just like with Christianity, if more people would look at themselves realistically, think about ways to improve themselves so that they're better to themselves, to their families, and to the overall community, this world would be a lot better place. We have too many stressed out people. We have too many people that are out to get other people. Look at what's going on in Washington, D.C., right? Democrats, Republicans, they're always trying to do each other in, and they're not really thinking about what's great for the country. They're just thinking about getting reelected. It's a very selfish environment. We have very little leadership in government at all. And when we see a great leader in government, we're like, wow. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's the exception rather than the rule. And so you as individual citizens have an obligation, a right, a duty, and an honor to make yourselves the best you can be in any way, shape, or form. And whether you decide that that's going to be physically fit, so this year I'm going to make myself better by being physically fit so that I can live longer and take care of my family and be with my family. And if there's an emergency, I can respond to it without having a heart attack. Or if you this year decide, you know what, I've been lacking or the desire to read. Because reading is essential, right? We used to say back in the day you're growing up, if you're my age, reading is fundamental. Well, reading is essential. You have to read. If you want to be an informed citizenry, to make informed decisions, you have to read. And it's not just the crap on TV with the news, whether it's Fox News or MSNBC or what have you, because they're just trying to sell their space and their time. They're telling you half-truths. They're omitting a lot of things. It's up to you to keep yourself well informed. But by reading biographies, history, novels, what have you, keep your mind sharp and you learn things. And so if that's what you want to do this year, that's fine. If you want to look at, you're feeling something like you're feeling a lack of spirituality. You're feeling like, hey, I'm feeling like I'm not sure what my place is in the world and things like that. Well, then, you turn to God and you pray about it and you ask God to help you, to come into your life and to help you figure out the direction He wants you to go to. But you can also, like I always say, when I pray to God, I always say, thank you for introducing me to Stoicism, but that doesn't ever replace you, right? But it is a good resource to have, and it is something really that I'm enjoying. You may enjoy it too, but I would encourage you to look into it. And if you get the chance next year next year I'll be better about this, since this is my first year going through it. Next year, I will make sure that I shout out loud and wide about the upcoming challenge, because I intend to do this now for the rest of my life every year until I physically or mentally or whatever can't do it. But I'll let you know about it. But again, I've given you snippets. You could actually come up with your own challenges. It doesn't have to be 21 days. It could be like once a month, you're going to do something that's hard, physically, emotionally, mentally. That's going to test you. That's going to put you out of your comfort zone, right? because that builds that resilience. So that's what I wanted to get that off my chest. I'm really jazzed about this challenge that I'm doing. Hopefully it makes me a better leader, a better person, a better husband, a better father, a better member of this community that we call the world, Earth. And if nothing else, I think I'm definitely learning things that I didn't know before about these Stoics, and how it's so interesting how their words that were, thousands of years ago have relevance to this day. And again, the parallel is you look at the Bible and written ages ago, but those words have relevance to this day, and how you can live the best life you can have on this short time on this planet. So I would love to hear your comments and questions, concerns, whatever it is. So please leave your comments. Love to hear from you. Like I said, we're going to provide you some of these links to some of the Stoic resources, Stoicism resources that I use. But YouTube's there, so you can certainly do your own research as well. Like I said, we have some great content coming. We're gathering some great guests that are going to be able to speak to you about a wide variety of things. And so continue to support this channel, again, with hitting the like button, subscribe button, sharing it, and telling people about it, and of course leaving your comments. I'm so very grateful to all of you. Again, we're 1,300 strong and growing, and so that's all because of you. So until next time, we'll be back at you with another edition of the Ronin Leadership Podcast.